We'll now discuss different ways to actually collect data. And then once we know how to collect it, maybe we'll start looking into different things we can actually do with that data. So I'm going to look at a few that are a little more in-depth and then discuss little others in a little less depth. The first one I'll talk about is a telephone survey. The idea of a telephone survey is we're going to call a bunch of numbers, talk to the people that answer the phones, and get our data. So there are some good things about this and also some bad things about this. One of the best things is that it's a relatively cheap method. And that's always good. If we can spend less money on actually gathering the data, then we can spend more money on other things to help our study. Another advantage is that there's no face-to-face contact. And we've actually shown that when there's not face-to-face contact, people are more likely to be more honest. This comes from the fact that if people don't have to deal with you face-to-face, they tend to think there's less repercussions for being honest, so they're more willing to admit things. However, there are some bad things as well. Not everyone has a phone, and even if they do, we're living in an age of caller ID where if you don't recognize the number, there's a good chance that you may not answer the number. So we do have that issue of not being able to actually reach a lot of people. In addition, cell phone numbers and unlisted numbers cannot be surveyed, and in our society we're moving more over to cell phones and less to landlines. However, landlines are the only ones that can actually be surveyed. In addition, we do have the tone of voice of the interviewer, and that could influence someone's responses. Based on how this interviewer is talking to them across the phone could influence the way they feel, and as a result give different responses. The next thing that's similar is going to be an internet survey. Once again, this is going to be a relatively cheap method. And in addition, once again, there's no face-to-face contact, so people are more willing to be honest. In addition, when we were talking about a telephone survey, we talked about how the tone of voice could influence responses, but now there's no interviewer to influence responses. However, there are some bad things as well. Just like not everyone has a phone, not everyone has access to the internet. In addition, you must go to a particular website, which means chances are you're only going to participate if you were planning on going to that website anyway, or if you find out about it and are very passionate. In addition, online we have the issue of a single person responding multiple times. While there can be ways around that, there's always ways to bypass the ways around that. So we do have that issue of one person responding multiple times. We can also do a mailed questionnaire. We're able to cover a wide geographic area for this. In addition, when people mail you something, you mail it back. There is that no face-to-face contact, which makes you more honest. But in addition, the respondents can actually remain completely anonymous. They don't have to admit who they are at all. So they do have that advantage. However, there are a low number of responses with these. These require them to be mailed out, someone to actually open it, fill it out, and return it. As a result, they do get a low number of responses. There also may be inappropriate answers to questions, or someone may have difficulty reading or understanding the questions, which could cause the data to be messed up. We can also do a personal interview where you are interviewed one-on-one. A very nice thing about this is we can get very in-depth responses. Once you answer a question, the interviewer could ask follow-up questions and get more in-depth responses to your questions. In addition, they're able to explain the questions. If you don't understand what's being asked, you can have someone immediately explain it to you. However, there are a lot of things that make this a little more difficult. The interviewers have to be trained in both asking questions and properly recording answers. As a result, this is an extremely costly method. We have to pay the interviewers to actually do the interviews, as well as training them to ask questions and record answers. In addition, the interviewer could be biased in their selection of respondents. Usually we see these people standing on street corners and asking if you have a few minutes to talk to them and answer some questions. However, These people may see someone and think, I don't really want to talk to them, I don't really want to approach them. Or maybe they're doing it subconsciously and only asking people who they think that they might want to interact with. In addition, we no longer have that no face-to-face. We are dealing with a face-to-face contact, which makes respondents more likely to lie about something when they don't want to admit it. So we've discussed 4 ways in depth, but this is not an exhaustive list. There is constantly data being obtained. Things like frequent shopper cards are collecting data on what you're buying and how often you're buying it on a regular basis. So that is a way to get data. In addition, when you buy something online, you're asked to rate it. That is a rating on a product, which is a form of data that we can manipulate and perform statistical studies with. And it's not just that. These things are everywhere. Netflix monitors what you watch. They have an extensive amount of data on what you watch, how you watch it. And this is what allows Netflix to build in their own shows, because they have all of this data, can do these statistical studies and figure out what people are most likely to watch. Even your phone constantly sends in data. Whenever we Google something on Google Maps, we have our route laid out for us, and it discusses the traffic patterns and how we might see a traffic jam. This is a result of people's phones sending data back and Google monitoring where people are getting stuck on the roads. Therefore, there must be a traffic jam there. So we constantly have this data that we are sending out all the time.